Per Bailey said, what parts of your chart speak about end of life? End is really like a strong term because energy is neither created nor destroyed, so it never truly ends. Our lives never truly end. You know, we die and we come back, and we die and we come back. And we keep dying and coming back until we elevate spiritually. There are different states of being beyond Earth. Earth is where we are right now because we have not evolved beyond the earthly experience. So the 12th house in astrology tells us about our karma, our 12th house karma, which really speaks to what is it that we didn't master, we didn't learn in our previous life, which is why we came here. But if you want to know how your life gets transformed, which is, I think, what you're asking for when you say end of life, meaning how do you die in this life, whether it's a physical death or spiritual death, you will go to your Pluto. Your Pluto placement in astrology speaks to how you transform, how you die. So Pluto, which is ruled by zodiac sign Scorpio, rules death and birth. And the death and birth, a lot of times we interpret it to be physical, but it's not just physical, it's also spiritual, it's metaphysical. A lot of times there are aspects of our personalities that we need to die to in order to evolve into the highest version of ourselves. And Pluto is going to basically spell that out and letting you know what is it that you need to end in yourself so that you're able to basically evolve into your highest state. So that's pretty much it. If you're interested in knowing how your life gets transformed or how you transform in this life to elevate, you go to your Pluto placement. It would tell you exactly that. Someone said mind, body, and spirit. Yeah, transformation is never just physical because, again, when you die, you do return. The only thing that you have control over is the quality of your soul. And the quality of your soul is your responsibility. You know, nobody can give you a better heart condition than you. Nobody can make you more loving than you. Nobody can make you more kind than you. Nobody can make you more generous than you. You have to do those things. If you want to have a good life, you have to have a good heart. And having a good heart, it's something you can develop. It's something you can cultivate. It's something you can invest in. If you invest in having a bad heart and a bad heart condition, and that would look like somebody that lives without a sense of responsibility for themselves and others, somebody that lives as if life has no accountability, even though every religion on earth teaches that there is some form of accountability, whether it's you come back and you have to carry the energy of your previous life or heaven or hell. However you want to spend that, whether it's heaven or hell, or you get destroyed in the fire, or you don't get to get brought back to life, there is no religion, there is no spirituality, there is no religious book that does not teach that everybody has to be accountable for the things that they do on earth. And that's basically what karma is. You know, we can't say that we believe in life and also deny the fact that there is an accountability for life. You know, life is created by us and our creator. So we're co-creating. You know, God gives you the tools, but you have to make the decisions. And ideally, you make good decisions that enhance the quality of your soul for this round and the next one. This is why, by the way, Scorpio represents spirituality in astrology. Scorpio is the very first spiritual zodiac sign because it's at Scorpio that we introduce this notion of being more than physical, of being more concerned with the spiritual as we are the physical. Prior to zodiac sign Scorpio, all the other zodiac signs are concerned with what's happening in the physical realm, okay? So Aries is concerned with the self. They're concerned with their ego. This is why Aries is highly competitive because that's literally all they care about. Taurus is concerned with their material possession. This is why a lot of people call Taurus greedy because that's essentially all Taurus cares about. Gemini is concerned with their intellect and accumulating, amassing as much information as possible. And that's all Gemini cares about. You know, who has the latest, best, most interesting information. Cancer is concerned with their emotional safety, their emotional being, you know, their emotional wellness. That's all they're concerned about. Leo is concerned with their freedom, their joy, like how happy am I? What can I do to get more validation? What can I do to get more affirmations? What can I do to feel on top of the world? For Leo, life is really an explosion of the heart. Like, what is it that I need to do to make my heart feel like I'm alive, like I'm on top of the world? So for Leo, that's the preoccupation. When you get to Virgo, the preoccupation is about their physical body, about their physical mind, about their social, emotional well-being. Virgo is very obsessed with keeping a healthy body, a healthy mind. Again, we're still in the physical. When we get to Libra, the preoccupation is relationships. How do we make relationships work with each other? Getting married. Libra is very big on that. Who likes me? Who do I like? Whether I'm going to have kids or not have kids. But relationships are really a huge theme in Libra's life. And, it's hard. You'll be hard pressed to find a Libra who is happy with their life, single. Because Libra is a relational zodiac sign. They're here to do relationships. So their whole preoccupation is, again, earthly matters. When you get to Scorpio, there is an aversion to companionship. Scorpio is the first sketchy zodiac sign when it comes to relationships. For this reason, is because Scorpio is where the disconnect happens between the physical and the spiritual realm. When we get to Scorpio, we enter the spiritual realm and we understand that life is not just physical, it's also spiritual. So whatever energy we put out is the energy that we are, therefore it's the energy that comes back to us. We cannot manifest good things if we are not living in harmony with our destiny. So Scorpio goes through a lot of transformations, a lot of changes in their lives precisely for this reason. Sometimes everything looks good on paper, but when Scorpio engages in it, it doesn't work for them. It blows up in their face for this reason. Because spiritual lessons don't always go with physical lessons. Okay? The things that we need to learn to evolve our state of being, our soul, they don't always go in harmony with the physical realm. When you're a zodiac sign whose dominant energy is in the physical realm, you may struggle to understand zodiac signs whose dominant energy is in the spiritual realm. When you get to Scorpio and beyond, people start doing things because of their intuition, because their intuition is heightened. When you're in the lower zodiac signs, Libra all the way to Aries, it's less about intuition and more about gut. More about what am I feeling like in my body? What is my body telling me about this thing? What is my body calling me to do? Hi, Scorpio 56, and hello, JB, and hello, Morena. Thanks you guys for coming to hang out. So once we get into this idea of karmic energy, which is where it gets introduced for the first time at Scorpio, there is an awareness that there's an accounting, that what we do, that karma isn't just like some weird woo-woo stuff that people think it is. It's really mathematics when you think about it. If you put 1 and 1 together, you're going to get 2, right? So whatever energy we give is what we get, because the universe is a mirror. So there's no gaming the system in that way, because you can say all the right things, but if your heart is not aligned with that thing and the purity of your intentions is not there with those actions, you're not going to get the good karma that you're seeking from that thing. And that's what Scorpio knows. And that's what Scorpio is here to learn if they haven't learned it yet. At Scorpio, you start to understand that what's happening in the physical doesn't always match with what's happening in the spiritual. This is why Scorpio can read people's intentions, because they inherently know that people will fake things. They will fake vibes. They will fake words. They will fake energy. And God, in his or her infinite wisdom, has given Scorpio the ability to taste what is pure when it comes to energy. So when you're in a Scorpio's energy, they can taste the purity of your intentions or lack thereof. Before Scorpio, you can fool all the other ones. From Aries to Libra, you can fool them. They can be fooled with compliments, gifts. Taurus can be fooled with gifts. Aries can be filled with control. If you make Aries feel like they're important, they're go with it. Gemini can be filled with like being treated like they're the wise one. If you make Gemini feel like they're so smart, they have the best idea, they start to get like emboldened. Cancer, if you give them emotional control, yes, they start to get emboldened. Leo, if you give them compliments and compliments and compliments and you make them feel like they're in cloud nine, yeah, you can fool them. You know, Virgo, if you allow them to take the lead and control everything in your life, they feel like they're emboldened. You know, Libra, if you're like all into them and you're obsessed with them, yes, you can fool all of them. But when you get to Scorpio, they're no longer interested in the feedback from the physical realm as they're interested in the feedback from their intuition. So what's spiritual now is more important than what's physical. So you could smile, you could have a nice story, you could be kind, but the things you're not saying, Scorpio would feel them. And they will inherently sense them and taste them before you actually speak about it. Before Scorpio, we don't have this gift. Humans don't. So as we keep going, it gets more and more heightened all the way to Pisces. So the original question was, how do you determine, end of life matters? What placement basically is associated with end of life? And it's Pluto, because Scorpio is a ruler of death. And Scorpio is also the ruler of life. This is why Scorpio is very good at recognizing talent. Anybody that is a Scorpio is excellent in a position where they get to recognize people's talent. They're very good at knowing what gifts are in people. And as a parent, Scorpio is very good at extracting gifts from their children and amplifying them. I would be interested to study one day, like successful people in this world and their relationship to this energy, to Scorpio's energy, and how many of them had Scorpio parents. When Scorpio is unhealed, though, they will harvest their children's energy for themselves, but when they're healed, they will harvest it to allow their children to blossom. So all deaths and rebirths happen with our Pluto energy. So if you're ever curious to know what your end of life is going to be like, what's going to take you out of this reality into your next reality, look at your Pluto placement. Your Pluto placement will always tell you, what's going to take you out. It also tells you what you need to let go of voluntarily so that you can evolve, so you can develop. So it's not just like, how do I die? It's also, how do I die to myself? How do I die to myself so that I can wake up into a new spirit? How do I die to myself so I can evolve into a new state of being? How do I die to myself so I can materialize or manifest a pure energy for myself? Something that feels more real, more authentic, something that feels more me. Somebody said Pluto in first house. When you have Pluto in first house, you're constantly doing this. Constantly. And it's quite exhausting. Okay? Quite exhausting. And there's no other way around it. That is your spiritual mission. That is your spiritual journey. That's who you're here to become. Because Scorpio is asked to be honest. Scorpio is getting ready for Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a zodiac sign of truth. Okay? This is why when Sagittarius is ready to spaz out on you and tell you about yourself, the way they snatch the truth from your soul is uncanny. Has anyone ever had a Sagittarius spaz out on them? I saw somebody say, I saw a TikTok that said, everybody talks about how Sagittarius is brutal and how Sagittarius is labeled the Sagittarius. That's what you guys call Sagittarius. But nobody ever speaks about what they did first. That's what the TikTok said. They said nobody ever speaks about what they did first before Sagittarius spazzed out on them. Because that's the thing. Sagittarius doesn't even know how to lie, even if they try to. It's not even in their toolbox. They're not very good at it. It doesn't mean they don't lie, but they're not good at it because they're not made to lie. They're made for the truth. This is why when they give you the truth, they don't really care if it hurts your feelings because it's not about your feelings. It's about your evolution. And you cannot evolve while living in lies. Lies don't get us to evolve. Lies are about working in the shade, in the shadow, doing things that we don't want to be known for, seen for. When you live that way, it's hard for you to step into the light and feel confident. This is why Scorpio is a dark zodiac sign and Sagittarius is a light zodiac sign, because you have to clean out the darkness that is in you before you can step into the lightness of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is very childlike. They're very outgoing, they're very fun, they're very friendly, they're very silly. I've never met a Sagittarius that's not a little silly, a little goofy. But when you mistake that silliness and goofiness for ignorance, and Sagittarius is ready to read you for filth, it's poignant. Right? It's poignant. Because Sagittarius has already figured out as Scorpio that we cannot heal with lies. We can't get ahead with lies. Yes, lies may feel good in the moment. They may cloak us from reality. But at some point, that is unsustainable. And the only thing that remains is the truth. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it doesn't matter. Whether you feel good about it, you don't feel good about it, it doesn't matter. Scorpio still has feelings about the truth because Scorpio, when they're unhealed, their power comes from lies. Their power comes from deception. Their power comes from the things you do in the dark that you deny in the light. Do you see that? When you transition from Scorpio to Sagittarius, your power comes from the light. Your power comes from the truth. Your power comes from admitting or owning up to truths that will make Scorpio feel embarrassed. Sagittarius has no embarrassment and no shame. That's why they don't give a fuck. It's not really like an act. They really don't care. They were born this way with not a single care in the world. And it's not to say that they don't want good things for themselves or other people, but they are emotionally detached. Scorpio is still very much so emotionally attached, even though they are a spiritual zodiac sign. They're the first spiritual zodiac sign, so they go through a lot of the, intense transformation, and it's very troublesome to go through them for all of us, because it's like you think you know who you are, you think you know what you want, and something happens, and all of a sudden, you're questioning, who am I? And truth will force you to step into this new version of yourself without having shame about the older version. And that's the point. The point is, we're not here to stay the same. We're here to change and grow with each single day. And you can see that the most with children. They don't wake up every morning saying, oh yeah, yesterday I did that, so today I'm this. Every day is a brand new day. Every day is a fresh new day. But as we get older, we become more resistant to change. We become more attached to what we consider to feel safe. So when you think about the zodiac signs as a community of spiritual souls that are evolving, it's kind of the same concept. When you get to Scorpio, the transformations happen not to accumulate shame or deceptive behavior, but to bring in a new revelation, a new awakening, a new truth that helps you kind of disregard what no longer serves you and step into the newer version of you that feels more evolved, that feels lighter, that feels more honest, more free, and also more fulfilling, more emotionally fulfilling. Sagittarius doesn't care because they don't get attached. They go through the phases. They allow the phases to come and go. Scorpio is still struggling with attachment to the physical, even though they're here to let it all go, because all of their powers come from letting go. If there's one message I can give to every Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Dominant people out there, is that all of your power comes from letting go. And the more you try to hold on to the old story, the harder it's going to be for you to affirm your essence, your true essence. Because your power comes from knowing that you can be anything and anyone and anywhere. Basically, whatever comes up that you have to respond to, you have all the tools and the resources to respond to it effectively. This is why when a Scorpio is healed, they don't start mess. Because they know if you start mess with them, they will finish you. That's why they rule life and death. That's why Scorpio rules life and death. Because Scorpio doesn't need to start things. They don't have to throw their weight around. They don't have to treat people inappropriately. They don't have to abuse their power with people. Because they already know they have the power. When you know you have the power, you don't need to abuse other people with it because you know you have it. So if people that are misbehaving are trying to take away your power, just let them. Just let them. Because you literally rule karma. So the accounting that needs to happen for them to get what they deserve is unavoidable. Because when you trust life, you believe that there is an orderly mechanism that guides all of our lives. All of us are here because we are spiritually connected. All of us are here for divine spiritual reasons. So yes, Scorpio when unevolved will use their power to make other people feel small, but Scorpio when unevolved will also get the karma for that. Because when you rule life and death, if you don't use your powers wisely, that same karma that you carry, you give to yourself. And that's the way it works. It's like you end up destroying yourself trying to destroy other people. There's no other way around it. Because how else does it work? How else do we have balance in the universe? It's mathematics. Have you ever noticed, I will leave you guys with this. Have you ever noticed that when you don't like somebody, when they come around, you feel uncomfortable in your skin? Have you ever noticed that? And what that will look like is you don't want to make eye contact with them. You don't want to talk to them. And if they're talking to you, you can't be comfortable in the energy exchange, in your glances at each other. Even your posture is different when you have to speak to them. You prefer being physically away from them because you don't like them. Have you ever noticed that? Or have you ever noticed when people have talked about you behind your back in a negative way and you get in their energy, they start acting funny? Let's say that you know that they've done this, but they don't know that you know. Have you noticed that when you have that type of information about them, you can notice that their body starts shifting? You guys leave me comments in the box. I want to know if you know what I'm talking about. Devo said I will try to act normal, but deep down it unsettles me. Yes. Somebody said exactly 100%. Yes. Anyone else? Has anyone ever experienced this? And thanks to you guys that are tapping on the screen. That's a very common human experience, right? The reason why that happens is because energy doesn't lie, because all of us are spiritual souls having a human experience. So let's say I've talked about you behind your back and I'm pretending to like you to your face. Let's suppose that. Let's suppose that behind your back, I don't like you and I talked about you badly. But when I'm in your face, I'm pretending to like you, right? So when I'm talking to you, I'm displaying all these nonverbal cues that all of us know when we're uncomfortable dealing with somebody, right? Because we can feel the energy has shifted. We haven't said anything, but we can feel the energy has shifted. Because energy doesn't lie. This is what we mean by spiritual. And the reason why it feels uncomfortable is because if I've talked about you behind your back already, I have decided that you're not worthy of my respect. I have decided that you're not worthy of my full energy. I have decided that you deserve less than my energy. I have decided that when I'm sharing energy with you, I am cheating myself. Do you understand? Like sharing energy with you is a loss to me because it's not an equitable transfer of energy. So when I have to speak to you, I feel like I'm being cheated of an experience that I don't deserve. I feel like I'm being cheated because I don't feel like you deserve to be in my company. Because this is why I talked about you behind your back. I talked about you like a dog because I don't respect you, right? I don't respect you. So now that I've decided I don't respect you, which is why I'm bad mouthing you, now that I have to talk to you, I feel like I am wasting my energy. I am sharing, yes, someone said sharing energy with you is a loss for me. That's exactly what it feels like. Because when we like people, it's because we respect them. You will never find somebody that likes you and disrespects you. It doesn't go together because love at the root of it is about equity, and that's why Libra represents the scales. The scales are exalted at Capricorn, the planet of karma. Libra is exalted at Capricorn, the planet of karma, for this reason, because the scales is about balance, it's about justice, it's about equity. It means when I'm interacting with you, I feel like you're like me, you're worthy, you're worthy of my energy. I respect and value your input. I see myself as an equal to you and you to me. But when I am being deceptive with my energy towards you, where I am pretending to like you, but I don't like you, when you're now in my energy, I feel unbalanced. Because at this point, I have decided that the energy that you bring is beneath me and my energy is too high for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that imbalance shows up as these awkward things that we all do whenever we're not comfortable with somebody. Because for whatever reason, we do not respect them. We do not think that they are our equal. So Libra came to teach us that love is really about equality, which is why, the energy flows when love is pure. There's no tension in the energy. It's smooth. It's calm. In fact, love cannot grow without peace and calm. It's smooth. It's calm. It's not loud or chaotic or abrasive. In fact, real love, oh, thank you, 56, Scorpio 56 for my roses. In fact, real love feels safe. So that's where that equity comes in. It's safe because you see them as equal, they see you as equal, they treat you as equal, you treat them as equal. The things you wouldn't want them to do to you, you don't do to them because you understand karma, equality. Karma and equality and justice go together is what I'm trying to communicate. So Scorpio is the very first zodiac sign that inherently carries equality because at Scorpio is when you start dishing it out. At Libra, you're observing it. This is why Libras can be either extremely messy people or extremely fair people. When they're not balanced, they don't know. They're swing between these two extremes. One minute they're advocating for the underdog between these two extremes. One minute they're advocating for the underdog. The next minute they're participating in mess that treats somebody else unfairly. And they're not even aware that these are two ends of the same spectrum. So Libra is exalted at Saturn because in part they have to learn that their behavior has consequences. Many of them do not know this. Scorpio knows this, and Scorpio is responsible for also dishing out our karma when we interact with them in a way that is oppressive. This is why Scorpio rules power. Okay? When you get to Sagittarius, when you get to Capricorn, when you get to Pisces, the spiritual ability to recognize deception gets heightened. Because when you truly love somebody, you're not deceptive in the way you give that love to them. And the transformation that you need to go through so you can be a more sincere and genuine person in the way you interact with other people is your life's work. It's your soul's calling. That's why we all came here. We all came here because we have work to do on ourselves. And those of us that spend our entire lives avoiding it and projecting our insecurities onto other people are accumulating our karma, good or bad. as we're living. But ultimately, at the end of all of it, if you're refusing to take in the lessons of Pluto and adjust what you need to adjust so you can become more authentic, more comfortable in your journey, more sincere in your energetic vibration, not only is it going to be hard for you to manifest your dream life, but it's also going to be hard for you to give real love to other people, like genuine love, not about performance, but just coming from a pure place in your heart, because love is the one vibration that unites all of us. That's why we came. There's no other reason that we came to Earth. Earth has enough darkness. That's not why we came. Okay? So that was it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Summary. Study your Pluto placement if you want to know what it is you need to transform about yourself to elevate your soul's vibration and to get in alignment with your soul's calling. Energy doesn't lie. You know, I always say this, men lie, women lie, energy doesn't lie, and patterns don't lie. You know, when people are shitty people, you're not the only person they've been shitty to, I promise you. Okay? And they're not just going to do that shitty thing one time, I promise you. Those of you that have found yourself in abusive relationships, one thing that those relationships will teach you is that there is a pattern of behavior. People that are abusive don't just abuse you one time. Like, oh, I just did this abusive thing one time, but then I snapped out of it and I decided abuse is bad. Abuse is wrong. No abuse. No. These are people that have developed compulsive patterns of behavior around, abuse. They have a great deal of comfort with it because they've been doing it for a very long time. So trust patterns, trust energy, don't trust words. And energy and pattern recognition is one of Scorpio's strengths. And this is why they can read you like a book, because they can, as soon as the energy shifts, they can sense it. You don't have to tell them. They know. And that's the beauty of tapping into the spiritual. So if you want to know how to evolve, study your Pluto. It's better for you to take control of your transformation than it is for you to wait for the universe to take things away from you because you're not learning and you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Okay? All right, that's it. Thank you, Scorpio 56, for saying great breakdown. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you guys for coming to hang out with me. Thank you, Buddha, for all the likes. I appreciate it. Thank you, Lanesa, and all of you who've given me gifts and who have tapped on the screen. All of that. I really, really, really appreciate all of your support, and I look forward to catching up with you next time. And if you have Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, I know your journey is difficult. I know it's harder than some of the others, but I need you to know there's a reason for it. It's because underneath all of that suffering, there's a lot of power you derive from knowing yourself. Because the deeper you go into yourself, the easier it is for you to go into everybody else. And that's your power. So let go. Even though it's hard, like easier said than done, and I know it's hard for you, the best thing you can do for yourself to live a happy life is to get comfortable with things leaving your life. Nothing stays forever. We come here, we enjoy things, and we let them go. And we enjoy other things, and we let them go. And eventually we leave this plane, and we transition to another reality. Nothing stays the same forever. It's better for you to be honest about what needs to be let go than to not listen and have it snatched from you. Because that's inevitably what happens when the universe is trying to coast you down another path and you're resistant. Eventually it forces your hand. And that forcing of the hand can be a little jarring. It's better to just tune in, tap in, listen to your gut, and follow it. All right? I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Oh, well, thanks for hanging out.
You can book your astrology reading at intuitivehealing.com. You can also watch videos at Intuitive Healing here on YouTube for Astrology 101 content. Listen to the Aquarius podcast on Spotify, as well as here on YouTube for your horoscope. If you're interested in astrology and love connections, you can visit at Styled Under Libra. And of course, for health and wellness, and holistic healing, visit at Styled Under Virgo for all of your astrology content. Thanks so much for watching.